On Real Men, Real Talk Live.
So you're envisioning all the time. We have to take responsibility and the ownership for where we've currently come along our own timeline. When we can take that responsibility and then start asking the questions, why did this happen? What happened? Who was there with me? What's involved? What was I feeling along that timeline? Why doesn't it serve me and my purpose right now in this present day? Why may not it suit me in the future or my visionary self? So we truly do start becoming the observer of our life. And when you are sitting in that realm of the observer, you are constantly in unlimited possibilities.
Good evening. My name is Jay Rothman. I am the host of Real Men Real Talk Live. I am excited to introduce my co-host tonight. This evening we have Jay Ritty, Evis Love, and Jeff Asano joining us on Real Men Real Talk Live, episode 165. And tonight's topic is all about the fine art of patience. Who wants to jump in, kick us off, light us up, and get us going on tonight's show?
Go for it, Ev.
Ev, kick us off. You always do such a beautiful job, my friend.
I thought you were sharing the top echelon, brother, but I'm happy to serve and go in first drop. The art, the science of patience, brothers and sisters, all the way here from the other side of the pond. Thank you as always. As where you can, please share it out into the community so we can get a good little bit of momentum as we stay patient for our brothers and sisters in serving our message into the collective. You know, they say it is a virtue, good old patience. What does a virtue mean to me? It's really a behavior that you hold at the top echelon or the pinnacle of your repertoire, your tool bag, whatever you want to call it along this journey. And patience being one of those things I think in the modern age we can look at is something that's been, I'd say, a lost art, unfortunately. You know, with time, the way that it's going, the technology advances that we're actually in right now, a lot of people are actually in the fast pace of life. So, you know, we might be stuck out in the matrix in the traffic. We might be jammed at some lights. You know, it can cause certain behaviors that cause anger, causes a little bit of frustration. We could go to the local supermarket. We get caught in a line. You know, someone will be at the checkout. We can't get to the top of that line and get through. It causes this frustration again, this anger within our life. We might take that particular anger, frustration to our workplace. We might even take that home overnight. We wake up the next morning and we're late to work. Why? Because we were impatient. We didn't allow for the time and the space in between the experience and the reaction. See, when we allow for the pause, we're not impulsive with our actions in our life. So it allows us to create better decision making, not only for ourselves, but most importantly, for our brothers and sisters around us. So this is certainly an art, the art and science of patience. You know, patience in my journey, man, it's been one that I've had to learn from a very, very early age. So I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit deeper about the science of what really patience is about and how we can really nurture it, cultivate it, and start to use it in our daily lives for our emotional, mental health and our spiritual well-being. Let's dive in, brothers.
I'd like to know what Evis had for breakfast this morning.
Kombucha. I'm on a fast, man. So anything
Wow.
can happen.
Wow,
You're
that
on
was
fire, brother.
quite the opening. What do you make of that, Jay Ritty? What Evis just said.
God, man, when you were talking about anger, I had flashbacks to like middle of my 30s. Like this one time, yeah, just when you get in that mindset, at that point, my impatience was work, and the startup I was trying to build for many, many years, and it just as I worked harder, I just kept hitting brick wall after brick wall, and just kept getting stopped. I wasn't in flow, and maybe ultimately the project wasn't meant to be, or it ultimately led to my crash, which was my awakening. So maybe it was all the right path anyway. But it sure was brutal during the process. And I was trying to like push my will on the world. I was trying to just out of sheer force and effort, move this project forward, move this business forward. And it felt like it was just like, I was just like dragging this dead body through the mud, while shot and bleeding. Is the analogy that I use. Cause it took everything took effort and will. And I got angrier and angrier and angrier as the years went on. And I had to just keep grueling through this impatiently, trying to force what I wanted to happen as it wasn't unfolding that way. And so many examples of just angry out. I remember punching the top of my car at one point when I was mad at the guy in front of me, and I had my windows down and I was yelling, and like 3 people on the street like stopped and looked, who's this crazy guy in his car? And yeah, it wasn't my proudest moments, or they weren't my proudest moments. And I showed up as my angry, ugly self. But that's the power of impatience. And when we're not in flow, and we're not, leaning into that flow state and moving with the world, and as things come, and that beautiful dance, just trudging ahead and just grinding it out and losing sleep and forcing our way through it. And yeah, when you spoke about anger, I mean, just this rush of all this stuff came back to me.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
No,
go
go
ahead,
ahead, Jay.
Josh.
You go. No, Jay. No, wait. No, wait.
No, wait, hold on.
Jay.
I'll go.
No,
wait, no, you go.
Okay,
You.
hold on.
I'll go,
No,
man.
wait,
I'll go,
Jay.
man.
I insist you go.
All right. Well, I'm just
No,
curious.
wait, hold on.
Wait. No patience, boys.
I'm having patience.
Wow, I was getting irritable and irritated. But I'm curious, Josh, have you figured out what, for you at least, what was at the root of your impatience? What was at the root of it all for you?
I mean, at that point, I had a very different mindset. My mindset was life was happening to me, not for me. And so that wasn't helping with the anger. And then I had zero relationship with patience. I thought that if you just worked harder, you could bend the world to your will, and that it just took sheer effort and time. And I missed plenty of friends' events, and missed weddings. I missed vacations because I was busy grinding it out in my 30s and forcing what I wanted to happen to very little success. I just ended up missing my 30s and not living. And so, yeah, that's what impatience cost me, was my 30s, literally.
Can I go now, Jay?
He's muted, so you're good.
Muted.
That's one way for me to manage my patience.
Yeah, right.
When I think of patience, I think of 2 things: having patience with ourselves on our journey and our process, and then in turn having patience with others who are on their journey in their process. And as we have discussed on many shows, it all comes back to us. So if we're impatient with others, quite possibly we're impatient with ourselves in our process, because it begins with ourselves. And I've been impatient many, many times in my process. Why didn't I get it yet? How come I'm not getting it? Why am I repeating this over and over again, or just repeating it again? And it's about our learning curve and what we're learning about ourselves, how we are growing within ourselves, and having patience with our own process through it. Because if we're taking that inner journey, it's a new journey for most of us. And as we take that inner journey, we're going to uncover roadblocks. We're not going to understand everything, and we're going to be uncovering stuff deep within us that we've never encountered before. And then we're garnering new tools and how to release all of that old, how to heal the old, and then rediscover the new and walk on a new path. So it's really, if our healing journey is about going in and reparenting that wounded child. So when you think about that, we're learning how to do that. We're learning a whole new way of being. And we're going to slip up. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to I'm just drawing a blank. We're going to repeat old patterns. We're going to repeat old habits. What we're really doing is raising our awareness and consciousness to ourselves. So if we can be patient with ourselves, then quite possibly we can be patient with others in their process as well. And I'm talking really, what I'm talking about, having patience on the journey, the healing journey. We can, there's another thing about being patient by standing on a line at a grocery store. I mean,
DMV.
But I'm going a little deeper with my thoughts about it.
Yeah, I like to jump in, because we're really so far focusing on the emotional relationship with patience and impatience, either with ourselves and with others. But there's another component too. Is when we're, let's say, how many of our viewers, and by the way, welcome back viewers to episode 165 tonight. If you missed us last week, you could always catch us on replay. But on tonight's episode, The Fine Art of Patience, I want to talk a little bit about having patience for our journey as it relates to health and wellness, the physical part of health and wellness. How many of us have been struggling or dealing with pain, physical pain, and dealing with prognoses and diagnoses as it relates to our own health? We may have health conditions that cause us to be living in pain, where we feel in the pain, either lifting our arms, moving our legs, moving our hands, or it could be pain at the deeper level within vital organs. And, I can't speak for you, but I will speak for myself, is that I think when I started on my own crusade, my own journey of believing that it was possible that I can reverse medical conditions, and in doing so, reverse the aging process, I truly had to, for the first time in my life, embrace the true essence of patience. And it was simple, not easy, because I wasn't accustomed to that. I was always so accustomed to hurry up and get it done. And time for me was always, I was always looking at the time. I was looking at the watch and the clock. But what I began to understand was that the true essence of patience, for me at least, was tapping into faith, believing that it was possible. But I wasn't going to see results on my time. I was going to see results on divine time. And for those of you that may not understand what I'm speaking in this moment, what I mean by that is realizing that I didn't have to try to control all of the outcomes of my health, and understanding that as long as I show up and I do the legwork and I invest the time and some dinero, or money, as we say in the US of A, I just believed it was possible. But there were times it really tested my patience. it didn't matter. I mean, I had massive conditions. So it wasn't just one I was trying to overcome. There was so many. But I tell you what, I can only speak from my own experience, is that it taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about what I didn't know. It taught me so much about the process of healing. And through that journey, I really, to this day, I really am able to live in a state of patience and trust that when whatever that condition is that may be lingering within, the most recent one for me is I ended up tagged with some long COVID symptoms, brain fog and vertigo, perhaps, and one other. And this is going on now for 19 months. I still am very patient with myself. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm sitting around watching TV, surfing the tube, and I'm not showing up and taking an active role in the journey. I am. And when something is presented in front of me and it feels intuitively like it could make a difference or help in the process, I'm all in. I'm all in. This is not a crusade that I have to embrace by myself. But it's interesting watching people around me and how they are either patient or impatient with my own process. And then I get to work through that, especially people that I know care about me, but at times can feel impatient. And so I get to work through their impatience and not take it on, and still hold on to the true essence of embracing my relationship with patients. And like you, Josh, and Jeff and Ev, as you shared tonight, I think lack of patience is way deeper than we give it credit for.
And when it pertains to ourselves, Jay, would you say that you were critical or harsh or unsympathetic to yourself in those moments of impatience when it pertained
We're
to
talking
you?
about my past life? Absolutely. My present life? Not so much. I mean, for me to overcome the medical conditions that Western medicine said is for many of them was impossible. It wasn't going to happen. It's not going to happen. So here's the farmers, and here's the water, and just start taking it. But I knew it was possible. I believe that we have the ability, we could defy the odds. And so it's coming up on 8 years now, and I've been extremely patient. And it's a new way to live. But up until that moment, when I was still trying to control every aspect of my life, and I found that the more I tried to control it, the more it was out of control, and the more I was impatient with me and everybody else around me. It didn't matter if it was someone I loved or someone that was employed. I lacked patience. What's interesting though is it's still a journey though. It's still an opportunity, even with others. Because people that we care most about, we want them to be further along, let's say, in their own journey of life and how they feel about themselves, or emotionally, mentally, spiritually, or physically. And then we get to take that seat back and again lean into compassion for that individual that we care about. And for me, compassion is turning them over to God. Is that it's not my role to try to speed up their process. And for some, it may not happen in this lifetime. And then we get to just really focus on acceptance. What do you make of that, Ev? Acceptance in the process of patience.
Yeah, brother. Thanks for the share, my man. And it is a massive part of it. There's no doubt about that. Acceptance with any given situation, any circumstance that may be happening within our life, what challenges may be perceived. Because when you're talking about, you had to really nurse that particular injury and, what you were going through with the medical conditions, something just light bulb moment, man, when I fast. So you think, all right, this for a metaphor, when we have some sort of illness or some sort of sickness, generally, many of us would turn to what? The hospital. we'd go into the care, whether we were taken there as a child or, you know, some of us may still go there in our adulthood. What happens is that you become what? A patient. So you think of some of these people like a nurse,
Right.
a doctor. What are they doing with you? They're being patient. But many people are not patient within their healing journey. So they're literally going through hell. So with the patience, unfortunately, what really comes from the back end of that on a physiological level, we're really encountering a perceived stressful situation. So on that biological level, we're running from the tiger again, brothers and sisters. We're in fight or flight. So those responses kick in, and that's when the stress hormones run rampant in the body. The cortisol, the adrenaline, we become primitive again. Yet those perceived stressful situations in our daily life, in the so-called modern world, they've kicked into, you know, the stresses like I talked about in the intro at the grocery mall, or the stresses at the traffic lights, or with our beloved if they haven't got dinner cooked on time. So we've got to be accountable and take responsibility for some of these situations within our life that cause the stress and anxiety to cause the impatience within our life. So we are literally becoming the patient of our own life. But like I said at the start again, this is the difference between you being an impulsive person or a person that is impulsive. So you've got to be able to be in the stillness, the calmness, the pause. How do we nurture that? That's the question.
Beautiful. I think we are. I think we need to serve up a round of kombucha for Jay, Riddy, and Jeff as well. That's amazing. I love how you broke that down. When we're in a hospital, we become the patient. But how many of us, when we're even in a hospital, we are patient? We can't wait to break out of that prison. It may save your life. It saved my life a few times, but you know, we want to get out as quickly as possible because we're impatient as the patient, right? That's brilliant. Ev, where do you come up with this stuff, man? That's what I want to know.
Brother.
Where do you find this stuff?
Last the fast Fridays, brother. Last the fast, brothers.
Wow. Who
all
wants
the
to jump in?
same
Who
word.
wants to piggyback off of what Ev just shared, man?
That's beautiful.
Man, I'm used to be, and probably could be in certain situations, very impatient. I was like instant gratification, man.
That's the big one.
You know, we live in a world of instant gratification now. I mean, just think about if when you press a key on your computer and it doesn't go right away. How many of us out there like get freaked out? You know, how many of the young people out there don't remember when it was dial up and you had AOL? You know,
Talk about patience.
Talk about patience, really. I mean, when I lived in LA, I was just thinking of Josh, man, I got on that 405, I had no patience. You know, and you're doing 5 miles an hour for 50 miles, you know, it was nerve-wracking for me. Yeah, you know, it's about looking at, once again, it's about, Josh said something earlier about being in the flow. If we're in the flow of our own life, and even when we're not in flow in life, when life is flowing, we've all experienced it, like things are flowing, things are moving nicely for us. We're in flow, things are coming together. We're all wonderful and it's happening. When we hit those moments or those aspects or parts of our life or periods of our life, however long those periods are, where we're not in flow, things aren't going the way we want them, you know, and we're hitting hitting roadblocks or blind spots, and we're just not in flow in life, how are we being patient with that? Because when we're in flow in life, and life is flowing and it's great, you know, it's fantastic. But in our own life, when we're not in flow, when life is throwing us a few roadblocks or hitting blind spots, or how patient can we be with that in our life? How can we sit back and say, and this is one of the things that I've had to learn, that we're in flow in life. When life is in flow and we're moving along and it's nice and it's easy, things are clicking in, we deal with that in one level. And that's in our soul plan as well. But when we're in the place in our life or periods of a life where we're not in flow, where things aren't happening the way we want them to happen, the way we demand them to happen, we become impatient with life because we compare it to the aspects of life that's in flow. Well, we can't always be in flow. There's expansion and contraction in life. We can't only be in expansion because then we'd explode. So we have to contract in life. So life slows down. But we always want life to be in flow. And when life outside of ourselves isn't, that's also in our soul plan. It's about understanding that life is a journey, and it's going to be expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction. In flow, we're not in flow. It's about us understanding that and being in those places, and then say, can I understand that all of this is part of the soul plan? Expansion, contraction. In those moments of contraction in life, can we be patient with this period of life? Because we'll move out of that contraction and then we'll be in flow and expansion again.
Beautiful. I love that, Jeff. What the metaphor that came up for me was I spend a lot of time doing my work on the land, specifically this time of the year down by the creek or at the creek. And it's interesting for me to observe the flow of water, the flow of the creek, the flow coming off of the melt from the winter snow up in, let's say, north of up in Flagstaff, Arizona. And then really witnessing how the level of the water from day to day is shifting. And after a massive monsoon may roll through, the trail that I was accustomed to taking for the past 4 or 5 days, all of a sudden is gone. It's now underwater. And I'm like, I feel like in that moment, I hit a wall. I hit a dead end. I'm like, now where do I go? What do I do? It's like, it's almost like I can't even recognize where I'm at. The wilderness has taken on a whole new energy, a whole new personality in that moment. And I'm the guide. I'm there that the client is hoping knows where he's going. And in that moment, I have to be willing to shift and pivot, but with this understanding that even in this relationship with Mother Earth, I get to practice patience, trusting that, tapping into my intuition, since I am not going to go straight into this new water path. Do I turn left? Do I turn right? Sometimes I have to be willing to say, you know what? We're going to turn around and backtrack just a little bit. And each time I do that with patience, and I do that trusting that we're going to end up exactly where we're supposed to end up. Not necessarily how, where, or when I think we'll get there. And that is truly a test of patience. I want to shift this gears a little bit here and bring us. Well, go ahead, Josh. What are you going to say?
I want to jump in real quick on that because you guys are reminding me of something that's really important, or was important when I realized it in my life, was that, and Ev, you know this too, studying the brain, my friend. the brain knows what it knows only, right? Experiences, patterns. It's a pattern recognition machine. And so if we're wanting to create a new life, move to new levels, if we're impatient with where we're at, the brain can only imagine solutions or roads or paths like Jay is talking about from what it knows. Anything outside of that is new. Well, wouldn't we, if you keep moving forward in your life in that framework of knowns and the things that you've done in your past, there is no future. You're just going to repeat the things you know, the patterns you know. Wouldn't you say that some of the greatest opportunities have come in your life out of left field, totally unexpected? You didn't have it on radar because your brain didn't know it until then, hadn't experienced it until then. And so that's living in flow, is staying open, not being so rigid in our expectations and our thinking, dropping into patience and allowing life things and opportunities outside of our scope to step in. And that's when we can grab opportunity. I volunteered at I went to a volunteer event one time. This event said they were going to be remodeling their space. I thought I would volunteer. I have a lot of construction knowledge from my art direction days. And they ended up placing me in charge of the remodel, which I was not exactly happy about. It soaked up about a month of my life every weekend. But one of the people on the board was also a producer on a Disney show and asked me to come work for him because of that experience. I was in flow. In the moment this place hit my heart when I was there, and I said, I want to help. Now, I volunteered and got sucked into a much bigger job, and I was sort of like, oh, I can't believe I said yes to this. But staying in flow, I followed through with my promise, and then this opportunity to reward me for 2 whole years on a very, very fun creative show came to me in flow. I never would have saw that opportunity coming or would have gone after anything like that with my framework of knowns and what I have experienced in my life. This was out of left field. So flow isn't bad. Letting go of expectations and expectations isn't bad either. So I think that's what you were talking about, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, if I look at my, career for 25 years, I would say about a good 85% of what has happened in my career, I never expected. Totally. I mean, I got to Broadway. I never expected that. There's so many. It's about when doors open for opportunities, you say yes and walk through them and allow life to take care of itself. It's if we understand that we might have a plan and we might dig into that plan. It's like a batter digging, when he's in the batter's box, digging that hole. I'm digging this hole and I'm going to stay here and I'm waiting for the pitch. If we dig that hole in our lives and say, this is what I want and this is the way it's got to be, then you're putting blinders on. Because life is about being malleable and going, quote unquote, everybody's heard this, going with the flow of life. And if we could just remain open in life and follow the path when it opens, whatever it is, by saying yes, you're going to be surprised. Trust me.
Yeah. And I have one more. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, okay, Josh.
You reminded me of one more thing, just that closed in, like those expectations, right? If that one thing doesn't happen, you're disappointed. So by narrowing our expectations and our focus into, if this doesn't happen, I'm not successful, or I'm a failure, or I'm a whatever. There's just, why limit ourselves to one thing and a pass fail thinking? Drop into that surrender and that patience and allow life to come into your life and allow experiences and opportunities. Yeah, you just reminded me of that.
Well, I think what I'm hearing here is that
What are you hearing?
I'm hearing that we become our own worst nemesis,
Mhm.
because when we are living in impatience, we're blocking.
Mhm.
We are
The
literally,
flow.
we are the blocker. We're on the front
Totally.
line.
Yeah.
We're in the front line, and we are blocking something from coming in. Like in your experience here, Josh, when you volunteered and you were like, you realized that you got in way deeper than you thought you wanted to. And it's easy, especially for that little kid within, to get irritable and discontent and then feel like he's being taken advantage of. And we create a whole narrative around something that felt good when we stepped in. But because you showed up and you were patient and you were of service, I do believe that you then got the gift. You had no way of knowing that somebody sitting on a board was part of a Disney show, and that you would be invited to participate. What a gift. But you see, this is a new way to live life. This is how I choose to live my life today. I'm not out there hustling. I'm not out there closing the deals like I spent almost 40 years doing in my corporate career anymore. I live in a world of patience today, and I give a lot of my time and a lot of my heart away where I don't charge, where I just gift it. And I gift it because I'm trusting that the more we give, the more we get. And before, I was always keeping score. I was always calculating. I was always looking at the numbers, what I had and what I didn't have. And you know what? There's freedom in this new lifestyle is when you really embrace patience. I want to shift gears here because on a couple of episodes, a couple of 2,000 episodes or so, as Jeff would say, you've heard, our viewers have heard at times me drop the term becoming a conscious observer. And in the last episode, Evis brought it up again as well. And I want to invite you, Ev, to share with us this evening, what does becoming a conscious observer really mean if you're not aware of what that means for our own life, and as it relates to how we become an observer of not just ourselves, but of others? And what role can that play in the fine art of patience?
It plays every part, and it should play every part in the role of patience. When you understand really what patience is on a deeper level, and we've been touching on it through the episode tonight, which is beautiful. But you've got to ask who's at the driver's seat. And we always say this, who is at the driver's seat of the Trinity? Who is it? Is it the body? Is it the spirit? Is it the soul? Now, I've gone over briefly in a couple of episodes what the difference is between the three. We're all quite aware of the body. We're in the body. We possess a soul, but we are a spirit. The body we're quite aware of. The soul, as I've mentioned, really made up of your emotions, your mind, and your will. So between those three in itself, within the soul, we've got to ask ourselves, okay, who's making those decisions? You see, we as a human being, just as much as we're here having a physical experience, we get to have this emotional experience as well. And we've touched on examples tonight, and unfortunately, most of those examples, most people, I'm not going to say everyone, but most people react on an emotional level. That's why I said they impulsively, not I'm pausingly, in an action of a response. They're reacting to life. So this is where the magic of the logic can come into play and balance out things. But that is why the willpower has the say of whatever is good or bad. Now, when we go to the spirit's looking down at everyone playing around down here, thinking, oh, you're all making decisions. But at the end of the day, it should and is the spirit that will make the final decision. Like I said before, the body is just the coffee kid. It's the boy. It's the young girl. The soul is really the middle management, while the spirit is the CEO, or I call that SEO, the spiritual enforcement officer. So you've got to ask yourself, who is at the wheel? When you allow spirit and your spiritual wellness to take over of the game that we're playing down on here on planet Earth, then that allows you to cultivate things like patience. And with this particular fruit that we call patience, it allows us, like I said, to make better off decisions, not only for our own life, but our brothers and sisters that are around us. So it plays a massive part within our life, trying to understand that you are the spirit. And it is that, my friends, that is the observer.
Yep. Good one, Ev. And you reminded me of the importance of the pause too. Again, I actually use that now. I actually use when I'm hitting brick walls, like Jeff, you were talking about being out of flow when we're in those moments of out. I actually use that now where if I'm hitting wall after wall after wall, where I used to just force my way through, I step back and pause and I go, okay, this isn't working. It's not flowing. Is it that I shouldn't be involved in this right now? I shouldn't be doing this. Let me take a pause and look at this from a little farther away rather than being in it and caught up in all the emotions, drama, whatever's going on, and just say, let me look from afar. Is this supporting my highest good? Am I happy doing this? Often we get it in our head that we have to do this thing and we're not even happy with the process. So I'll step back and be like, all right, is this right? Do I want to keep doing this? Is this making me happy? And if it's not, I bail. And if it is still a goal, I will look for another angle. Look for maybe I'm going about this wrong or expecting things to go this way when it maybe wants to flow this other way. Maybe I should listen. And so I use that stillness and that pause and curiosity around those roadblocks to either decide to keep moving forward be in another way or to exit stage left, as Jay says. Pause is important. Thanks, Sev. Supremely important.
I'm pausing.
Me too.
Soak it up, brothers. Soak it up.
I just let go of an event that I was going to do in New York today. It for my book. A wonderful guy presented something to do something in New York, and been working on it a while, and it's not flowing. It's not. Yeah, it's just not in flow. There's these little things that are, and I'm looking at all the events that I've done so far. All of them have fallen into place very easily. This one, it's one thing, it's this, it's that. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to do it. If it's not in flow, it doesn't feel right. It's a lot of work. This should be easy. Everything should be easy, really, and just fall into place. And if it's not, I mean, I've been working on this for a couple of months, and it's just, I'm back to right at the beginning, and I realized, I said, you know what, I'm probably not supposed to do this, which will open up something when I do go to New York in October, something else to slide in.
Wow.
Ease and grace.
And that's
Wow.
and it's not a
That's
failure.
And that's trust.
Yeah.
It's
I
not a
was just-
failure,
I
and
was-
Jeff just said it's trust. We're double teaming you right now.
But I was also disappointed. You know, so what we also have to remember is to have our feelings about it. When I made that choice, and I still have yet to tell the person that I've made this choice, I felt disappointed. It sounded great, you know, and I got a couple of people, some artists to do it, some fairly well-known, I mean, for me in my world, well-known artists to do it, but it's just not, it's not in flow. It's not coming together. And I've realized that even doing this, I've contacted so many people, and here's the thing, what can come up for us. So for example, I've contacted people, you know, would you like to do this with my book and stuff like that. And then I've realized that there's two people in two organizations that have said they wanted to do something and came to me. And every time I email them, I don't get an answer. So what can come up right away for me is start chasing after what's unavailable and getting stuck in that energetic path of the blockage. And then whatever inside of us kicks in, and you keep on emailing. And then your focus comes upon and stays with what's unavailable, as opposed to looking at another part of your life where, wait a second, this is easy. So what really happens is we get excited. Our nervous system gets excited to what's unavailable, and then we try to conquer it. Because that's what I learned.
There's another piece to that, Jeff, I believe, is that when we're walking through that process, as you just described, tell me that wasn't a part of you that didn't receive that as rejection.
No.
What about making up a story around why they're not responding to you?
No.
You ever do that?
Nope.
I do. I'll tell on myself.
Yeah, no.
I do that quite often. I'll send someone a text, just connecting, and I'll send them another text, and they're flatlining. I can easily slip into creating a narrative or a story around why I'm not hearing from them. And that's one of the 4 agreements. Don't take things personally. And then I get to reel myself in, because I am having a human experience.
Hey, the way this might sound like me ego, but the way I look at it is they're missing out. They're missing out on an opportunity to work with me.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, that's there's nothing wrong with that, but I think it's important for our viewers to understand that we could take that approach, but we can also give ourselves permission to have, again, as a conscious observer of how are you and how am I receiving that? And then what do we do with that? Do we let it go? Do we let them go? Do we create a story, make it about us? Or do we just trust that we're being impatient? They're not responding in a time frame that we feel is suitable. And it's not about us. It may be about, we have no idea what that individual is going through on their side of the lane. What are they going through in their life?
Exactly.
So then you're talking about patience with others.
Yeah.
Right there. That's where we can shift it to say, get really pissed off at them for not responding to us. That's one choice we have, because we all have choices. I could get really pissed off at those two people who came to me with these great ideas. And I was like, yeah, let's talk. And then when you contact them, they're not responding. Now I can choose to get pissed off and get angry, or I can say, well, you know what? If it's not easy and not in flow right now, I don't know what's going on in their jobs, in their life.
Yep.
I can go, well, yeah, I'm pissed. Yeah, there they go. Or I could just say, you know what? I'm going to stay open for the next the next person or the next thing. Or what am I working on where people are more excited? And you never know, those people could come back to you like a week, 2 weeks, a month later and go, oh, wow, I know. Those are the choices that we have. We can condemn them for not responding the way we want them to respond in our time frame. Or we could say, oh, well, I'll open this door.
There you go. Well, in order to keep this show flowing right here, right now, I want to invite Evis. I'm going to challenge you with a question, Ev. What role does the masculine energy within all of us play in the process of patience? Does it play a role or does it not? Masculine energy.
Let me ask you a question then, Mr. Rothman.
Oh, he's flipping it. He's flipping
What's your idea of the masculine energy?
Ooh, yeah. I like that. Define the masculine energy.
Which masculine energy are we talking about?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
So, hey, Ev,
that's next week's topic right there.
Yeah. Let's save the answer for next week's topic.
We could spend an hour unpacking that.
Really?
We do, we could break it down from a science perspective. We know we have testosterone within our body. We have estrogen within our body. It does play a role in our body temple, perhaps, but also the energy that comes from within, the masculine and the feminine. We could break that down next week, but Ev, do you think the masculine energy plays a role?
I know what you're talking about. So if we think of the toxic masculine energy, of course it's playing a massive role, because with the toxic masculine energy, like all of us, I put my hand up, man, I was trying to control the outside world with everything that I was doing, relationships, career, health, money, all the above. So that's a toxic masculine energy trying to control the outcome. So that plays a massive role in the patience, whereas the healthy masculine energy will create the safe, the secure, and the stable environment to allow the divine feminine energy to flow in her natural, receptive, patient qualities.
Yeah.
That's the short version, Jay Rothman.
If we look at it, see, and when we talk about masculine energy and we talk about feminine energy, the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is male, female, man, woman. Well, that's not their energies. It's energy. And when we understand the energy involved in the feminine and energy involved in the masculine and what all that's about, then we're on to something.
Yep. Next.
You just sparked something. Yeah, right?
Go ahead, Josh. What do you got?
You just sparked something really important, Ev, the word control. I remember reading this probably over a decade ago, and this is good. This is real good, and it's very true. It was absolutely true in my life. Our happiness in life is in direct relation to the level we think we're in control.
Can you say that again, Riddy?
Can you write that in the comment section, Josh?
Right? Our happiness in life is in direct relation to the level at which you feel in control in your life. So if you are out of control and trying to control all of the elements around you, I guarantee you're unhappy right now. And that was so true for me. So let go. Be patient. Allow life to bring you the opportunities and allow them to come in. Be in flow, like Jeff was so beautifully talking about. let go of the illusion of control, because we can't control it anyway, and you'll drop back into your happiness, I promise.
Beautiful, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Let's pause on that one. That's big, Josh. That's 90% of what all of us have a challenge with in our life. Thinking that we're in control and trying to control everything, trying to control the outcome of everything, trying to control, like I just said, where everything is on our timeline. And then we try to control when others should give us what we want from them. I want it now. I want it immediately. I want it when I want it. Just hear that. How old are you when you're saying, I want it when I want it, and I want it now the way I want it? Mom, mommy, daddy. It's that kid inside of us who wants everything the way he and she wants it, the way they want it right now on our timeline. Life doesn't work that way.
And I'm chuckling not because I'm judging any of you out there that are relating with any of this right now. I'm chuckling because I was freaking there.
Everybody raised their hand. And I still do it.
Yeah,
But I've come into that conscious I'm looking at it now. I catch myself when I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I just did it. I did it today, actually. And I caught myself. I went, you know, somebody said they wanted to do a photo shoot like a week ago. And well, where are you? Why, what? You know, I caught myself today, and then I go, you know, I don't know what's going on. I don't know, you know, it is what it is. That's really important. And that's 90% of all of us are trying to control everything in our lives so we feel safe in our life.
Yep.
You know, it's interesting. I was having a beautiful conversation on the land this morning, a video chat with a man who I spent a couple of decades or more in my old life in corporate America. We were associates, and he's my age, and we hadn't connected in, I've lost track of time, at least 4 or 5 years. And it was such a beautiful conversation that unfolded. And what really came forward for me was as the two of us as we shared some of the last 4 or 5 years of our life and how he's pivoted and where he's at as it relates to every aspect of his life. We landed on part of the conversation around the present moment, because we both always lived in the future.
Mm-hmm.
We're always projecting out. And we really dialed in on that. You know, we dialed in, and as he's in Colorado and I'm back here in Sedona, and it was such a beautiful conversation around, at least for us, is that we spend more time today reeling ourselves back in, reeling in that fishing line so that we're not drifting off into the future, into the sea, into the Dead Sea. But instead reeling ourselves back into the present moment, because these are where the gifts are. So, you know, we both acknowledged like how impatient we were. And those were the days when we were producers. We were making good money. And neither one of us was at peace. And today we both embrace a very simpler lifestyle. And at age 62, we're both at peace today.
Mm.
He's not living in the future. He's anytime he goes into the future, he knows there's fear there about all the what ifs may happen or may not. And like I myself landed with an absolutely beautiful woman who lives in the present moment. He himself is doing the same. And so sometimes, it takes having a friend or a partner or someone, a mentor in your life that has been living and has been embracing life a different way, in a very patient way, trusting, living in faith. And it was beautiful to have this conversation today because in the past, I wouldn't even been patient to be on the phone with someone. I would have been like, you know what? I got to do some self-care. I'm here to be by myself. But I was patient enough in that conversation for us to learn more about each other that we never knew. Because when we were in suit and tie and polished shoes and running for that next airplane flight, it was all about impatience. And so I think what came forward for me was that part of this journey of life is as we become elders, as we embrace what's really important in life, there's wisdom that comes through our lessons and our experiences. And we have an opportunity to share that. And that's why we do this show, because this is what this show is about sharing our own truths. And with what time we do have left, I want to ask you, Ab, to close us out. We're a little bit over tonight. I think it's okay. I'd like you to close us out with this one last question for you tonight. What role does instant gratification play in patience or lack of patience? And is it serving us or is it harming us? And what can we do to reel that in if, in fact, instant gratification is actually not serving us as it relates to our relationship with patience?
Yeah, I'll quickly answer it, brother, because I don't want to take it too much time. But yeah, it serves as a massive role, particularly around patience. And like I mentioned, you think in a natural instant gratification world that we're living in, food, we want to instantly gratify our food needs. We want to instantly gratify our entertainment needs. If someone's got Netflix or streaming services, gone are the days where you had to wait a week or two to watch your next episode. You can watch it straight after the first one. Instant gratification in relationships. We try and force the person to come within our life. Some people jump on dating apps. I'm not judging out here, brothers and sisters, but gone are the days that you could find out someone's information going to a first date. You could get it on an app these days without even going to that first date. So we live naturally in an instant gratification world. And to me, what's really important that we didn't discuss tonight, which I will finish off on, is really being able to cultivate patience within our life. There were many years for me, man, that when I was on that impatient ride, trying to really force the outcomes like the brothers are talking about and control these external situations, man, I was very impulsive, dude. I was a bit of a firehead, if that term. And one thing that I had to integrate of those first things that I will share that help cultivate patience was obviously meditation. Now, whether you're meditating by going for your walk or whatever you're trying to do, I want you to understand that meditation is probably one of the closest things to patience in what Jay was saying, that you are required to focus on the present moment. Now, you've got to be really kind to yourself if you do notice that mind wandering, particularly with those wandering thoughts when you jump into those meditative states. But that meditative state will allow you, as we know, to reduce this stress and this anxiety that builds up from a deep second gut level. And I want you to really understand this, brothers and sisters, that second brain of your gut that produces and has a lot to do with the serotonin, okay, which controls the moods you are in. Think of what I was on the other side of that, and it's a similar word. See, when we're not impulsively acting within our life, we're in what? We're in serenity. Serenity, very similar to, isn't it, to serotonin, because you are in a mood of calmness, in peace. That is true inner freedom. But let me finish up on this, Jay. When I was in that impulsive state as a young fella, I was trying to force those outcomes And I wasn't being patient with my career. I wasn't being patient with the relationship, trying to force that in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was patient with my health. I've always been patient with my health. But we think when we are not patient in those particular things, many people, and I want you to get this clear, brothers and sisters, please, as we finish up this show, and I promise I'll finish here.
Take your time, brother.
Patience is not waiting. Let me say that again. Patience is not waiting. Patience is preparing. When we are patient and practice and cultivate this fine art and science within our life, we don't have to wait. We can prepare. What do they say? When we are healthy with our food choices, what's the number one thing? Food preparation. So you have to prepare for your seeds. You have to prepare for your fruits to come in. If you are being impatient with your manifestations, goals, and intentions, my brothers and sisters, there is a reason why universe is saying, pause, to be still, to be calm. You may have to build yourself up before that loved one comes into your life. You may have to get ready and prepare yourself for your manifestations and for your abundance and prosperity to come within your life. So prepare. You don't need to wait for anything, but prepare for these things to come in your life. And when you do that, you can practice this, like we're talking tonight, patience within your everyday life. It's a big close. Sorry, Jay the Rothman.
Boom.
You did nothing wrong, so I'm going to invite you to take that apology back. Matter of fact, I am sitting here in chills. And that for me is always the indication that truth was just dropped. Mm-hmm. This show tonight was a show of the fine art of patience. And wow. Thank you.
Preparation.
Thank
brother.
you, Ev, Jeff, and Josh for bringing it home tonight, for dropping the truth bombs throughout the entire episode. We went over a little bit, viewers. If you liked or heard something you loved, we invite you to share it out with your friends and family. Perhaps they'll have enough patience to endure an hour and 7 minutes tonight. Check us out. We love you. We hope to see you next week on our next episode, 166. But in the meantime, we love you.